Welcome, friends and foes, survivors and killers. Let's sit around the campfire together and talk about Dead by Daylight. Specifically, a quick look back at the last year of Dead by Daylight and what I would consider its biggest success for 2022. Better or worse, the past year has been a massive one for Dead by Daylight. 2022 has brought a major shake-up to DBD's perk meta, a return to regular new map for original chapters, more licensed tome stories, adjustments to the free track of the Rift and the arrival of the Deep Rift, our first ever returning licensed chapter, and perhaps most importantly, massive changes to DBD's grind system that literally has players complaining that they can't hold all these blood points. Just like every change that ever gets made to anything ever, the reception to DBD's multitude of changes this year has been mixed. The perk meta shift is the closest demonstration I can think of the monkey's paw curling into a middle finger, as players got exactly what they asked for, if not what they wanted. The new maps have been visually stunning, even if the loops were designed by a Cenobite to inflict as much pain as possible, so just regular DBD maps then. And the only popular killer of the year has been such a victim of his own success that nobody wants to play anything else. In today's video, I'm going to talk about none of these things, because I think the best part of 2022 Dead by Daylight wasn't any of them. My honourable mention, my close second for the year, is probably the tome stories. David and Twins share what is undoubtedly my favourite tome in the game's history, and the others have been mostly pretty good too. Even Jonas was a good laugh. But if I'm being honest with you, Amanda's tome was genuinely so bad, it disqualifies the whole year's tome stories from being the best part of 2022 for me. Yeah, the Saw tome was this year. Yes, I feel old too. More than just being unsatisfying, that story was a genuine affront to the name of Jigsaw. It was disgustingly bad. Hopefully you know by now that I don't say something like that lightly. Nah. Best part of 2022 Dead by Daylight was not the tomes. It was actually the events. Because this year's DBD events have been absolutely first rate. Just like every year, 2022 brought us 4 major seasonal events. The Lunar New Year event, Lurking Stripes, in January and February, the 6th anniversary event, the Twisted Masquerade, in June, the Halloween event, Haunted by Daylight, in October, and the winter event, the Bone Chill, happening right now in December and early January. There's also a ton of smaller events, which I'm going to call progression events, and that covers the various Blood Point, Experience, and Rift Fragment booster events, and the brand new Community Choice events. But I'll get onto those once I'm done talking about seasonal events. Perhaps the most forgettable seasonal event this year was the Lurking Stripes event to celebrate the Year of the Tiger. It isn't to say it was bad, but more that it kind of set the pace for the rest of the year's events. Just like the prior year's event, the Gilded Stampede, Lurking Stripes came with an event offering, the Red Envelope. Like every New Year event besides 2020, red envelopes you'd earned in prior years became usable for this event. As usual, the red envelopes give survivors bonus blood points for completing event generators, and gives killers those blood points for hooking survivors on event hooks. However, in 2022, these envelopes had an additional function. They spawned red envelopes into the trial themselves, kind of like glyphs, that gave blood points to not only the person who opened the envelope, but the person who brought it into the trial in the first place. This is how the Lunar New Year skins were distributed this year as well. There was a range of trial cosmetics that would be given out to anybody who had their red envelopes opened by other players, incentivising you to bring the red envelopes because other players would reward you directly for doing so. In my opinion, the cosmetics themselves were also pretty good. The artist dress especially has become one of my favourite items for her. With the return of event toolboxes and firecrackers for survivors on top of the red envelopes, the Lurking Stripes event expanded on the previous year's Gilded Stampede event by tweaking the red envelopes function in ways that directly rewarded player participation. Something that will be a recurring theme throughout this year's events. The unique cosmetic rewards for taking part will also be a recurring theme, but one that will only become really obvious when we get to our next seasonal event, the Twisted Masquerade, that celebrated Dead by Daylight's 6th anniversary. The 6th anniversary was a wild old time. The Twisted Masquerade was only a part of it. The Roots of Dread chapter released at about the same time, which in my opinion is the best chapter of the year, suck my nuts Albert Wesker. And MKT gave us a traditional anniversary livestream with such exciting announcements as the first Community Choice event, Hooked on You, and Project W. But the biggest announcement was the Twisted Masquerade event, and from the get-go it was clear that this year was gonna be a little bit different than the rest. For one, the anniversary crown system that the 4th and 5th year events had was gone. replaced instead with something a little more personal. It used to be that every original character received a crown on the anniversary, kind of like the frosty eyes for Killer. But the fact that they were all the same in any given year made it hard to make any individual one feel special or worth running in the Hegomatic slot. Instead, the Twisted Masquerade brought 12 Masquerade masks, one for a survivor and one for a killer from each year of Dead by Daylight. Each mask was unique and designed specifically for that character's personality, and could be earned through the same pillar system the crowns were earned for in previous years. And the other major change from previous years was the event Tome, where a range of fairly simple, time-limited challenges gave us special anniversary rewards, masquerade outfits for Haddie and the Dredge. This wasn't the first ever event Tome. The Midnight Grove event for Lost Halloween debuted the idea, but every event since 6th anniversary has gone on to have one. This also came with a return of stuff we expect from an anniversary event. The birthday cake offerings that could be kept all year round returned with the Frightful Flans, as did the rotating Shrine of Secrets and the event items. It was a textbook case of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, with many of the beloved old features of anniversaries making a comeback this year, while the new ones mostly just improved the weaker elements of prior anniversaries. The Twisted Masquerade was a massive improvement over the divisive 5th anniversary, and it's got me curiously wondering what's on the docket for next year. But before then, we've got more events to cover, with the next being my personal favourite of the year, Halloween's Haunted by Daylight event. 2022 marked the second year the Halloween event had departed from the Blight story that concluded with the Eternal Blight of 2021's Midnight Grove event. The Midnight Grove added the pumpkin mechanic where players could kick pumpkins to earn rewards in an attempt to Halloweenify the event, after the Blight events didn't really commit to the images and ideas of Halloween, focusing more instead on the Blight itself. Haunted by Daylight turned this shift in visual design and tone up to 11, with the new cosmetics, both earnable and otherwise, playing up the Halloween costume vibe. Similar to the anniversary, there was a range of earnable cosmetics for both sides, this time themed around Halloween costumes. The survivors got glowing neon ribcage shirts and vests, and the killers got candy-fied versions of their weapons, which sometimes felt pretty out of place but other times absolutely rocked. This continued to the Halloween Tome, which gave Hag a cheesy swamp monster style outfit and Kate a classic scarecrow costume. In general, this year seemed to be more accepting of the joyful and campy elements of Halloween than the fairly serious affairs of the prior Halloween events. That's not to say it was entirely lighthearted. The new gameplay mechanics for this year were Void Energy and the Unstable Rifts. These are probably my favourite event mechanics ever. Both sides can accumulate Rift energy by doing their objective. Survivors can repair generators and killers can hook survivors. They can also steal each other's void energy by a survivor stunning the killer or the killer downing a survivor. And that's what might be gained through pumpkin kicking as well. At any time, players can find unstable rifts to donate their energy into and gain blood points and a speed boost, scaling with how much was deposited. This created a fun little dynamic, where you stop the other side stealing your points by banking them in a rift, at the potential cost of having to make more trips to that rift. I love these gameplay patterns, and seriously hope they come back next year, especially since Void Energy created these strange arcane rifts in the sky that seem to get bigger the more energy is deposited into them. It was a subtle but definitely ominous way of making the event as a whole feel more like progress is being made to some wider goal, and was just the icing on the cake for a truly spectacular event. However, I do have one issue with Haunted by Daylight, and that's the offerings. The arcane dowsing rods filled the role that the cursed seeds filled for the Midnight Grove event last year, and the posture petals for the Blight events. But crucially, unlike the Lunar New Year event envelopes, these offerings are not usable year on year. Those petals and seeds from prior events are basically worthless now, and if we get a new event in 2023, which we have a reason to believe we do, there's no reason for arcane dowsing rods to come back either. I'd love to see some kind of optional offering exchange every year, where obviously old event offerings could be exchanged for new ones, so all the blood points you spent during old events didn't end up going to waste. Aside from that, I think Haunted by Daylight was basically a perfect event. Easily the best Halloween event ever, and possibly our best ever DBD event. I suspect our next Halloween event it will draw a lot from Haunted by Daylight, both in aesthetic and gameplay, and I can't wait for it. Which leaves the winter event for 2022, the one that's finishing up right now, the Bone Chill. and this was always going to be interesting. Last year's Bone Chill event was pretty, shall we say, divisive, with the snowman mechanic proving insanely popular with some players and, frankly, despised by others. 2021's Bone Chill saw the snowmen acting as extra health states for survivors, ones that didn't give them a post-hit speed boost, yes, but an extra health state all the same. This certainly encouraged survivors to use them, but didn't really give the killer anything to do during the event other than just deal with survivors having more health states than normal. This caused particular issues with the powers of certain killers, since hitting a survivor inside a snowman would consume Ghostface's smoke without taking a health state, and it would also reset Trix's knife laceration. Most guttingly for me at least, Victor pouncing on a survivor hiding in a snowman not only didn't harm the person inside, but allowed them to kick him afterwards as if he'd missed, meaning a survivor hopping in a snowman while Victor was chasing them was an uncounterable guaranteed chase ender. Because if there's one thing Twins needed more of in 2021, it was random new mechanics that totally hard countered them. Nice job, behaviour. This made the event really fun for survivor players, but killers just didn't get an event at all. They just got to have a slight disadvantage in matches that was really not slight if you were playing one of like 3 different killers whose powers the snowmen just turned off. 2022's Bone Chill event had an unenviable task. It had to keep what made playing Survivor in the event fun, while adding something for killers to do that wasn't just fight through more health states and occasionally have their power disabled. Whether or not they pulled it off is up for debate, but I'd say they've done a pretty good job so far. Behaviour addressed the fact that killers didn't really have anything to do during the event by letting them get in snowmen as well, and get undetectable while they're inside one to ambush survivors from stealth, while handling the extra health state issue by simply making snowmen no longer give you the extra health state. Whether this was done because an extra health state was too powerful a thing to just give to survivors for free, or as a band-aid to help with the difficult power interactions, I don't know. But I'm inclined to go with the latter because if it hadn't been changed, doubtless Wesker's grab mechanic would also get screwed over by the snowmen. The snowmen received some extra utility this year to offset the lack of free health states they provided. They got made much faster, to make using them in matches to travel from place to place stealthily more appealing, and to make escaping a match while inside one significantly easier. My favourite part of the snowmen now is the high five feature, where 2 snowmen can high five each other to earn extra BP for all the participants of the high five. I don't know about you, but it really made me feel like a right winter-pilled Christmas cell. Yeah, I'm not a fan of those words I just said either, but what are you going to do about it? It's my video, you can't stop me. In any case, much of the same stuff we've come to expect from Events 2022 came back for the Bone Chill, such as the event tome and the community-voted Deck the Trials collection that contains what has to be the best cosmetic Dredge will ever have, except maybe the doll one. The winter event is typically considered the smallest of the year's 4 major seasonal events, sandwiched as it is between the Halloween and Lunar New Year events. That's why, for example, it doesn't have unique offerings like the other ones. But it's clear that this year a good amount of effort was put in to improve the event, and it's definitely made it more appealing to participate in from a killer's point of view. While many survivors are less than pleased, it's definitely a step in the right direction that made the Bone Chill event for 2022 a strong one to finish the year on. If it was just these seasonal events that took place in 2022, they'd still be good, but I don't think they'd be the best thing about the last year of DBD. We've been in more or less a constant state of mini events and login rewards this year that have given players reason to hop on the game at basically any point of the year. We've had 6 BP multiplier events in 2022 compared to 4 in 2021, along with login rewards for Ghost Month, the Anniversary, Haunted by Daylight and the Bone Chill, alongside loads of new mini events, like the Fragment Frenzy that double Rift Fragment gains, double BPs from daily rituals, double XP weekends that increase the Iridescent Shard gains, and 2 community choice events. In these week-long events, players vote on what the event's contents are going to be. Login rewards, progression bonuses, a voted Shrine of Secret, and even increased odds of certain maps. While the map pools type business is kinda screwed over by the fact that survivors just bring map offerings anyway, so it doesn't matter, it's great in theory, and the rest of the event is usually a pretty good time. It's these mini events that keep DBD ticking over in the downtime between chapters and mid-chapters. Something that's been especially important when we've had a mid-chapter this year that just had nothing in it. The events team have really been going at it lately, and I think it's a fine time for their hard work to be recognised as we move into a new year of Dead by Daylight. I don't know whether next year's events are going to reuse what's already been done this year, or if we're lined up for more innovative and new ideas, but suffice to say, I'm looking forward to finding out. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed my first video of 2023. I know I didn't upload a lot during December because I was away visiting family during Christmas, but I am back with a vengeance and with several scripts ready to go. If you don't want to miss out on them, then please do subscribe if you're new to the channel, turn notifications on so you don't miss the next upload, which will probably be about Evil Dead. Links to Twitter, Twitch and my other socials all in the description, along with a link to my Patreon. Patrons get to see videos a day early, so they've probably already seen this. If you're interested in joining the Patreon crew, then by all means, it would be welcome. I would appreciate it a great deal. Never expect anything, but it would be nice, so link is in the description if you're interested. I have so much cool shit planned up 2023 and I cannot wait to share some of it with you. I guess until then, I'll see you next time. Ta-ta for now.